After absolute power, Jon Kent has been freed from Brainiac Queen's control. Jay is still coping with the loss of his country and mother, and Amanda Waller is finally imprisoned. Nothing can go wrong, right? Welcome to Comicstorian, where you get audio dramas of your favorite comics, helping you decide which comics to add to your collection. Amanda Waller was imprisoned after the events of absolute power, but now she is missing. Dreamer worked for Waller, and despite betraying Waller eventually, she played a role in the death of Jay's country and mother. Jon Kent, ever the mediator, is trying to find Waller with the two and find themselves in a precarious position in Secret 6, Issue 1 by Nicole Maines. I hope you enjoy. Belle Reve Federal Penitentiary, Louisiana. Prisoners are rioting in the cell block, with guards moving to try and control the situation, shouting for everyone to return to their cells. But the wall suddenly explodes as Jon Kent, also known as Superman, is thrown through it by a massive punch from Bizarro. "Ruined day! Lose heroes!" Bizarro shouts angrily. But Superman recovers fast and tosses him into another cell, using his super breath to freeze Bizarro in place. "What are you doing, Superman Jr.? Kill it already!" one of the guards shouts. But the ice doesn't hold Bizarro for more than a second. His Brainiac Queen enhanced body punches his way out, sending sharp ice shards scattering throughout the corridor. Jon moves fast to block the guards from being sliced up and launches himself at Bizarro again. He feels bad for the big villain, knowing what it was like to be controlled by the Brainiac Queen. But Jon has no choice. He reaches down and grabs the robotic parts that have been grafted onto Bizarro and begins to rip them off. And the fight is over in moments. Meanwhile, Nia Nal is laying on an operating table. She looks up at her doctor, asking if her half-alien physiology will affect the procedure. But he shakes his head and smiles, promising that he has studied her x-rays and doesn't foresee any complications. The doctor turns away and begins to prepare. "Now, double-checking. You've abstained from solid food for 48 hours, right? No liquids since yesterday? Betray the people closest to you?" the doctor asks. Nia turns her head sharply at the last question and looks at the doctor's back. "What?" she asks. Hands suddenly reach out from the shadows and grab hold of her, pinning her down as they place a mask over her face. When the doctor turns back, he has transformed. Now he is Jay Nakamura, the hero whose mother was killed after Nia was forced to work with Waller. "I promise, more than anyone, you deserve this," Jay says as he steps forward and draws a pistol, aiming it at Nia's head. "Where is Amanda Waller?" Jay demands, right before pulling the trigger. Nia sits up in her bed, letting out a scream of fear, before realizing that no one is holding her down. She is just tangled in her sheets. It was just a bad dream. Elsewhere, Jon returns to the apartment that he shares with Jay, a bag of takeout in his hand. He hovers outside the window for a moment, dismayed to see that Jay is watching Belle Reve's security feeds on his laptop, making sure that Amanda Waller is right where she needs to be. "Knock knock," Jon finally says. Jay lets out a cry of panic and closes the laptop quickly. He whirls around as Jon floats inside the apartment. "I told you to stop doing that. One day my heart's gonna stop, and then what will you do?" Jay snaps at him. Jon sighs and puts the takeout on the counter. "All right, what is it?" Jay asks with a sigh. But Jon shakes his head and looks back at his boyfriend. Finally, he admits that he's worried about Jay, but Jay shakes his head. "Jon, you don't have to coddle me. I'm a big boy. Just say what you mean," Jay tells him. But Jay slumps onto the couch. He knows that Jon wants things to go back to the way they were before Waller made her play for world domination. "And I'm trying. I really am. But I lost my mom. I lost my country. And everyone just wants to forget about it. But I will never forget what they did to us," Jay tells him, anger flashing across his face. Suddenly, both men look up at the sound of a knock on the door. Jon looks through the door with his X-ray vision and sighs. "Jon, who is it?" Jay asks. But Jon just gives him a sad look. And anger washes over Jay again, and he storms towards the door, ripping it open to reveal Dreamer. Jay's hands ball into fists as he glares at the woman who betrayed him. "Nia, you have 5 seconds to turn around," Jay starts to say. "Waller's missing," Nia snaps, interrupting the threat. Later, the 3 heroes are walking towards the entrance to Belle Reve. Though, Jay doesn't think the guards are just gonna let them in. But Nia suddenly stops. There is a bright light in her vision as someone reaches into her mind. She opens her eyes to see a crowd of birds flapping away, and Amanda Waller standing before her. "Coming, Miss Nal?" Waller asks with a smile. But the vision is interrupted as Jon puts a hand on her arm. "Nia, are you okay?" he asks. She nods and shakes the images away, and the trio starts to walk again. But Nia stops once more. She wants to let Jon know that she's sorry she didn't listen to him before. Sorry that she let Waller blackmail her into doing awful things. "Oh, him you apologize to," Jay hisses. But Jon glares at him, reminding Jay that Nia was the one who helped save Jon from Brainiac Queen's control. Inside, the trio are stopped by the guard, who refuses to let them in. "Nobody sees the wall, especially not any of her former associates," the guard says, glaring at both Jon and Nia. Jon smiles though, trying to talk his way through the door, trying to use the old Superman charm. But Jay grabs a hold of Jon's Justice League membership card and places it into the security lock. The lights all beep green in a second and the door unlocks. Well, would you look at that? Justice League Unlimited Access will get his ass through the door, Jay says with a smile, throwing the guard a salute as he walks through the security door. "Thanks for your service," he calls over his shoulder. But Jon quickly follows him and grabs his card back. "Jay, what are you doing? We can't just barge in. There's a way this is done," Jon snaps at him. "There's a way guards should act when a prisoner is missing too," Nia reminds him as she quickly catches up. The 3 begin to bicker, with Jay pointing out that he doesn't like that Jon keeps taking Nia's side. "Ugh, trust me, I know how you feel." Black Alice calls from a nearby cell. She looks up from her bunk and nods at Dreamer. "Last time I saw Little Miss Perfect, she knocked me unconscious and threw me out a moving plane," she says with a smile. Nia steps forward, her hands beginning to glow. "Oh, you are so lucky you're in that cell," Nia growls. But Alice puts her hands up in surrender, though the smile never leaves her face. Okay, how about a deal? You let me out, and I tell you where Waller went. That's what you want, right?" Alice asks. But the heroes refuse the deal. Black Alice shrugs and turns away. "My terms are clear, and you're in check, girly pop," Alice tells them. Nia narrows her eyes. "I'm so not in the mood, Alice. What does that mean?" she demands. Suddenly, alarms begin to blare throughout the prison. The heroes look up as armed guards begin to flood into the corridor. They raise their weapons and immediately fire. "What do you think you're doing? We're allowed to be in here!" Jon shouts as the rounds hit his body. He looks down and realizes they're syringes. But Dreamer steps forward and creates a shield for them. The syringes bounce off easily. "You are going to tell us everything," she snaps at Black Alice. The criminal smiles and nods. "Works for me, princess," she sneers. But some of the syringes slip through the shield, hitting Dreamer in the shoulder and beginning to drop her. Jon grabs her quickly as Jay reaches through the bars and takes Black Alice's hand. "Don't make me regret this," he says to her. He reaches out and grabs hold of Jon, and there is a bright flash of light, and all 4 disappear, leaving the guards and the prison behind. In a flash, they suddenly appear in a secret house in Vermont. The heroes look up in shock as they see Catman lying on the floor in a pool of his own blood. Deadshot standing over the body. Middling kids! Deadshot snaps as he raises his weapon. And so the Secret Six have all met up, but not in the circumstances I'm sure you were expecting. And so if you want to find out what happens next time, I'm gonna need you to let me know your interest in the comments below. And the more comments and likes this video gets, the more likely we will continue this series on the channel. And make sure you're subscribed and have clicked that bell icon to make sure you get notifications when new videos go live. I'm Dan with Comicstorian, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, man.